educator in New Jersey for over 20 years. Principal Baruti Kafele distinguished himself as a master teacher and a transformational school leader. As an elementary school teacher in East Orange, New Jersey, he was selected as the East Orange, New Jersey District and Essex County Public Schools Teacher of the Year and New Jersey State Teacher of the Year finalist. As a middle and high school principal, Principal Kafele emerged as a turnaround school leader, which included the turnaround of the mighty Newark Tech that went from a low-performing school in need of improvement to a national recognized school, including U.S. News and World Report magazine recognizing it 3 times as one of America's best high schools. This culminated in Principal Kafele receiving the coveted Milken Education Award for his leadership. It's one of the most sought-after school leaderships and classroom equity presenters in America. He presented himself as one of those leaders, and Principal Kafele is impacting America's schools then, now, today, and tomorrow. For over 35 years, he has delivered more than 3,000 conference and program keynotes, professional development workshops, parenting seminars, and student assemblies. In addition to writing several professional articles for popular education journals, he has authored 14 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers. His newest book, What Is My Value? Instructionally to Teachers I Supervise, was recently released. Principal Kafele is the creator and host of the popular AP and New Principal Academy, streamed live every Saturday morning on his AP and New Principal Academy YouTube channel. You guys should check that out. He is the recipient of over 150 educational, professional, and community awards, which include the prestigious Milken Education Award, the National Alliance of Black School Educators Hall of Fame Award, the East Orange, New Jersey Hall of Fame Award, recognition as one of the world's top 30 educational professionals for 6 consecutive years, 2020 to 2025, by Global Guru Top 30, and the city of Dickinson, which is in Texas, proclaiming February 8th, get this, February 8th was proclaimed in 1998 as the Baruti Kafele Day. So without further ado, my friend, Mr. Kafele.
Good afternoon, everybody. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this mic on, man. Y'all know I'm loud. Good to be in your presence. I opted to be on the floor with you, so we'll be down here. You know, somebody might be wondering, what's he wearing a baseball jersey for, and what team is that? Maybe everybody in the room knows what I'm wearing, right? It was mentioned that I do a Saturday live stream. 261 consecutive Saturdays, which included today. I just came from my room doing session number 261. But somewhere along the way, in just my development, I developed this interest, this fascination with the Negro Leagues. And I started reading all these books about them. And then I started buying all these jerseys. The authentic, they're flannel. So, you know, I'll be sweating profusely in a little while, right? But when I get up on Saturday mornings to do my live stream, because these are part of the brand of the live stream. And when I get up in the morning on Saturdays and put these jerseys on, I feel like Superman. And I don't say that with exaggeration. I really feel like I'm putting on a Superman cape when I put on these jerseys. Now, for those who may not know, it's obvious that I'm wearing Kansas City, the Kansas City Monarchs, but there's a reason I'm wearing this jersey today. During the month of April for my live stream, I wear all Jackie Robinson jerseys. So I wear his Brooklyn Dodgers stuff, I wear his Montreal Royals minor league jersey, but then I also wear his Negro League jersey. So this is what Jackie Robinson wore in 1945. And he played for the Montreal Royals, which was the farm team of the Dodgers in 46. And then in 47, as you know, he went on and broke the color. Ooh, you scared the mess out of me. I thought 47 was gonna get me today, boy. I was like, cause I heard the sound, but I'm like, I thought that was Dr. Akua, because I knew he walked in. Now I said, man, 47 gonna get me in here, man. So, I shouldn't even say, somebody in here might get mad at me for saying that. So, listen, y'all, let's talk about a few things. So they brought that from outside. I thought it was part of the technology here. All right. Listen, y'all, let me get this bag out my way. I was at a school recently, and two schools in particular, and it was interesting how my experience was comparable in the two schools. I'm in this school. I don't want to tell you where I was. I only tell you where I was when it was something positive, so this is a little bit different. It is positive, but it started off negative. So I'm in this school doing my consulting work. My consulting work is just spending my days with principals, and that's what we do. I'm the shadow of the principal. And at lunchtime, the principal asked me, he said, let me give you the demographics of the school. It's predominantly white Latino with a small smattering of African-American students. So they said, could you talk to our lunch detention students? And I facetiously said, are they all black males? And they said, yes. So I said, let's go. So we went on to this room, and the young men were sitting in the room, all black boys, and they represent a minority. And they were kind of sitting like this, just looking up. I was kind of behind some of them, others I was on the side, because there was no real organization to the way they were sitting. So I went in there, and I have this thing with me where I don't tell kids to sit up. I guess when I was much younger, I probably did. But now, when I go in a room, I don't tell young people to sit up. I say to myself, and I hope this doesn't come across wrong, I say, my words, my message, that will take care of that, right? And if I could be instructive, that's where we should be, right? Your messaging, whether it be you or whether it be the teachers for those of you who are leaders, the teachers that you lead, right? But the messaging should be it. So I'm in the room, and I wasn't prepared to do this talk, so I'm processing. Okay, what you gonna tell them? These are elementary age young people. These are fifth graders. So I said, all right, well, let me be me, regardless of the politics, because you didn't give me any parameters. So I'm gonna be me, and then if I'm going too far, then you pull my coat. So I said, let me talk about Malcolm, because this is the centennial, May 19th, 100 years since his birth. So I said, let me talk about Malcolm in here. But you know, a lot of times when we talk Malcolm to young people, we think we need to talk Detroit Red first. I'm out of that now. Younger me would do that, right? To use Detroit Red as the example and all that kind of thing. But now I've grown, I'm older, I'm wiser. So I should be able to talk 1965 Malcolm and inspire young people without going to Detroit Red, right? Or even younger. So when I talk younger Malcolm, I'll talk about Malcolm who was sitting in the meetings with his father, who was teaching Garvey, right? Which is why Malcolm's father, if I'm sure the whole room knows, was murdered, was assassinated, because he was a staunch Garveyite. But young Malcolm is sitting in all those meetings, absorbing the information because he loved his father. So if I'm going to talk to young people about young Malcolm, that's kind of where I'm going to go. I'm not going to necessarily always go into Detroit Red and all that kind of stuff because it could become confusing in an initial conversation, particularly if I don't have these kids over a long period of time. I may give them that, and that may be what stays with them, right? So let me go to later Malcolm. Let me go to 64 Malcolm. Let me go to 65 Malcolm. So now I'm talking to them about Malcolm, right? Hear me well, fam. And the slouching went to these fifth graders. They're very urban fifth graders as well, right, in terms of the environment out there. So now I'm talking Malcolm, I'm teaching Malcolm. I'm not really engaging them in a conversation. I just want to teach, like I said to the people this morning in the breakout session, right? So then I said, all right, I have the attention of this room now. I ain't stopping, right? Now the people in the room, they there, and I think I was the only African-American in the room as far as adults, and I said, that's all right, y'all didn't give me no parameters, right? So we let it go, we let it flow. Hear me well, somebody. So I said, let me introduce them to Black Wall Street, right? So sometimes when we talk Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Greenwood, Arch, Pine, sometimes we talk about the massacre. I don't want to start with that. I'll end with that, but I don't want to start there, right? So, or we'll talk about the businesses, the communities, the neighborhoods, all that kind of thing. I don't even want to start there. I said, man, 1896. So now I can go to these fifth graders and say, there was a Supreme Court case called Plessy versus Ferguson. I'm talking to babies. I'm talking to kids that's sitting in lunch detention, not going to lunch, not having recess, just mini prison, mini juvenile detention, if you will. Right? They ain't allowed to do nothing. So let me come on in there. Let me introduce you to 1896. Plessy versus Ferguson, where segregation is now legal. Let's talk about that. But then I said, I want to introduce y'all to somebody. I hope y'all don't mind me going into this history and so forth. This is where I'm at right now. So I said, I want to introduce you to a man that people, depending on who you talk to, they got mixed views on this person, but that's not important. I want to introduce you to a man by the name of Booker T. Washington, right? President of Tuskegee Institute. And Booker T. Washington also created the Negro Business League, right, which preceded the Chamber of Commerce, right? So I said, let me introduce you to him, because he reacted to 1896. No internet, no phones, no social media, all that. I need Black business people, future entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs. I need you all at Tuskegee. A lot of people don't know this. Need you all at Tuskegee. 1900. They come tonight, they converge on Tuskegee. He said, look, we got to do for self. We got to build. So if I can get way ahead of myself for a second, we know that there are multiple Black Wall Streets across America, not just Tulsa. But I'm going to focus on Tulsa. So he said, we got to build. We got to survive this. So they go back to their respective cities and they start to build. So let me just go to Tulsa. In 1906, they build the first business. But then from there, now I'm telling this to fifth graders. Can't lose sight of it. I'm not trying to lecture the room. I'm telling you what I told fifth graders. So now you got this first business which evolves into over 200 businesses. And then I'm explaining to the fifth graders that these weren't people that just woke up one morning and said, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a businessman or businesswoman. This was a means of survival of a people. So I'm talking to these fifth graders, and they looking at me. I said, man, they with me, man. They with me. I got to keep them all day if I can. So we get into it. We got into the massacre a little bit. We didn't get into it real heavy because I'm not trying to leave them there right now. I want to leave them at these businesses, right? So now I said, man, I can't stop. It's like when I created during the shelter in place, the AP and New Principals Academy, for those of you that know about it, right? I've been doing this for 6 years. It'll be the 6 years starting next week. And my intent was to do this for 18 weeks, the first Saturday in May until the last Saturday in August, and then I'm done. We're all at home. I have access to a lot of APs and principals, so we were like 10,000 every Saturday. So when the 18 weeks had elapsed, I said, I can't stop because too many people are tuning in. So I kept it going, and here we are, just finished today. Here's my point in bringing it up to you. Those young men, I said, I can't stop this because chances are, unless they have you as their teachers and leaders or people like you, they may never, ever hear this again in life. So I didn't look around and ask nobody for permission. I'm waiting. You pull my coat. You tell me you got. I'm going to talk here. So then I said, what can I tell them now? I said, and I kept it in America. I said, let me tell them about Selma because that's something that's dear to my heart. So I morphed. Hear me, somebody. Because I want somebody to take this and apply it to your life, to your practice. I morphed into John Lewis in front of them kids, right? So I'm on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I'm on it. It's like my mind took me out of that classroom in that moment, and it put me on the bridge for these kids. So now I start walking. Y'all seen the movie, so you know how him and Hosea Williams, Reverend Hosea Williams, were walking like slow with the 600 behind him, Amelia Boynton and so many others, right? And I walked like that, and I was talking to him. And I said, I'm this man, Congressman John Lewis, who led this march. And on the other side are the Alabama State Troopers and the Selma Police Force on the other side. And I see that. And I know what's going to happen when I get to the other side. So I'm explaining that to him. But I'm also putting it in the context, but black people didn't have the right to vote. See, when we think about the times we're in right now, many of us are handcuffed from saying what I just said, depending on your school district, right? I speak for a living. I consult for a living. I can't tell you the number of clients on those dreaded Zoom calls before the meeting before I get there. They say to me, Principal Kafele, we know you like talking equity, but that's not why we asked you to come. So please do not say that word in that auditorium. I get that all the time. That's normal. It's like if I don't get it, I'm like, oh, they different, right? So that's like the norm. So I play like I don't understand. Like what you mean? Wait, what does that word mean to you? And they go like this here, figuratively. It's, yeah. Oh, you don't know. But you don't want me to talk about something you don't even know what it is? So I'm all over the map, y'all, so just work with me. So now, I'm all over the place, right? So now, I know I am, so yeah, y'all know, right? So they said, no, we already know, right? So listen. So there's a zillion different definitions to equity, right? So you got all these equity warriors, all these equity scholars, researchers, all this kind of stuff, and then you got the guy like me, and because I'm not a scholar or a researcher, I'm just a guy that wakes up and is on a mission every day, right? So I said, man, with all these definitions, all these books, man, all these seminars, all this stuff, how are the schools going to know which one to go with? because it's so much, and they're all good. Most of them, and some of them I really don't agree with, right? But anyway, that's for another time, right? So I said, you know, like the young people, it's interesting. Like the young people see me, right? And they be like, OG. And when I first started hearing that, I'm like, nah, man, don't call me that. But then I know that it was all over the country. OG. And not just, when I say young, I don't mean kids. I'm talking about like y'all, right? So it'd be like, they'd be like, OG, Kafele. So I said, all right, I think I'm gonna embrace that. Because it's contemporary way of saying elder, although I'm not an elder. Not yet. I'm 64, right? But you seeing me in a certain way, and I'm presenting myself in a certain way. My character is coming across a certain way. So you giving me the highest respect when you say OG Kafele. So I said, okay, I'm gonna embrace that. But they gave that to me when I was 60, right? So I'm very used to it now, right? So I said, all right. So now I said, that word equity, I got OG status. I'm going to give it my definition. And then I'm going to write a book about it. So I went on and gave it my definition, wrote the book, The Equity and Social Justice Education 50. Those of you that don't know my work, there's a 50 on most of the books I write, meaning it's 50 self-reflective questions. So anyway, I said equity. How can I define this word that folks can use it, yet deal with what's most important, and quite frankly, so that I can continue to get into these schools talking equity? And I simplify. You know how when we add fractions, we reduce them to their lowest common denominator, right? So I said, let me reduce this word to its lowest common denominator. I said, equity, meeting the children where they are, which is common, but then I added an extension, ... as they are. Meeting the children where they are, as they are. So when I tell a client, all I'm coming in is talking about meeting your youngsters, your scholars, where they are, as they are, which I translate into great teaching. What part of my definition is political and will create an uproar in your school and out in your district and outside of the district, right? Because I don't mind saying this one publicly with the camera rolling. I was in Utah last year, and they said, we don't care what the laws are, we're going hard on equity. I said, okay, good. But, so they said, we want you to come in and speak all day, but we need you to do this. You can't fly out that night. Why, what's going on? We need you to meet with the parents that evening, not to do a seminar with parents. Watch this, y'all. To tell the parents what you told the teachers and community. I said, is that bad out here? They really care about what a PD session is? That I need to tell them what I told the teachers? Yeah, it is, Kafele. All right, so I come back at night, and I talk to one parent, because that's all that showed up. And he spoke Spanish, so they had an interpreter. Can't make this stuff up. So, let's get back to these kids. I'm all over the place, man. I'm just making use of these 45 minutes I got, right? So, now, I finished with Selma, right? I said, well, since I'm in Selma, let me drive to Birmingham. I got these kids and ain't nobody stopping me. It's time to be back in the next class. We staying in here. So I gotta somehow be these four little girls, y'all. Because I don't want to, hear me somebody. I don't want to just tell a story. I want the children to feel September 15th, 1963. I want them to feel it. Because see, it's one thing to lecture history, but it's another thing when the receiver, the recipient of it, can feel the history. See, that's what the great teacher does. You know that. The great teacher brings the lesson to life. Math, science, language arts, social studies, all the other content areas. As opposed to just lecturing some content. So I delivered it in a way with passion and emotion. They felt that. They felt it. So now I said, okay, we've been in here very long time. What's your thoughts, y'all? The main thing they said to me, Principal Kafele, that's it. Nobody ever told us this before. Why we never learned this? But see, I used to speak in juvenile detention facilities all the time. I just don't get them invites like I used to. I think it's because I'm getting older, right? But I used to live it. When I was a principal in Newark, New Jersey, I volunteered my time. I'd go there 2 to 3 times a week. You give me every boy in here. We go in the gym and we just rap, right? But I would lecture as well. We lecture, rap. So the wardens, when I was out of Jersey and other states, the wardens would always greet me at the door and they would say, I mean, it was like clockwork, Principal Kafele, let's give us like a solid 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. So I understood why, but I would ask the question, we play dumb again. Why? Because you're going to lose them. Their attention spans are very short. They talk about special needs and trauma and all that kind of thing, right? I said, oh, you don't think I could hold them that long? Oh, okay. All right, I'll give you a solid 5 or 10. I spent 5 or 10 just saying my name, right? I would average 90 minutes with those kids. The COs sitting throughout them, looking at me like, man, what's this dude doing? How'd you do that? I said, easy. I met them where they are as they are. That's equity. And that's before I came up with the definition, right? So I'm just going in there because as my brothers right here, Kobe the Wiz and Dr. Akua, as they know, and as I'm sure many in this room know, you hit them with their history, got them. They're yours. But think about the teacher that don't know history. I can't teach what I don't know. See, but Principal Kafele, hold on, like 47 is real. I work in the school, and we getting all these mandates, all these directives, all these memos, and so forth. I was in this room. I came to this session. I think it was like the leadership, and a young lady. She's probably in the room right now. She was at the podium, and she said, "You don't have to use the language DEI." There you go. So I can't see that good far, right? So I was in the back by the door, right? So I was scoping out the room, right? So then when I heard you, I said, oh, you speaking my language now. Because watch this, y'all. I'll go into a place, like I was in this school district, right? And I ain't know till I got there, in this school, I should say. Man, I'm driving, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. They didn't tell me everything that I needed to know as to where I was going. So I'm driving last summer, and all these big posters of the blood coming out his ear, right? So I'm that was the lawn sign, right? And I'm like driving, I'm like, man, every house got these signs? Where they got me going, right? So I'm like, oh. So now I get there, I'm tense, y'all. I'm like, man, what is this? I got to do 6 hours in here. Watch this, y'all. I did an equity presentation. Watch this. And I never mentioned the word equity. I got all my equity sessions, I got like 5 of them. I got 10 of them. So I got the 5, and then I got an additional 5 where I deleted the word equity, right? Changed the title. So it's no longer the equity something something. It's called meeting your children where they are, right? So now I give them that one. It's the same content. Just the word equity is missing. So now all them folks in that place with all that blood coming out of my man's ear, right? They was like, they was like, you know, so I'm presenting. When I finished, man, they, woo! I said, yep, that's why the world is so screwed up. Yeah, man, because I gave them what I gave them what they needed. But I want you to hear something, because I'm at the NABSE conference, Midwest NABSE. I want you to hear this now. That room was representative of those signs. But I want you to know something. They got about a 25% black population of children. See, that's why I had to go hard for them kids. And there's been a lot of districts I go into, and I'll say, look, I got to be upfront with you. You got a 2% black population, or you got a 5% black population, whatever it is. I say, look, sometimes people get mad about this, but I'm good with it. I'm 64, right? I said, look, I don't know your students, but I need you to know, I gotta be upfront with you. That 7% black student population you have, I'm going hard for them today. I say that. One superintendent called me one day while I was driving to the airport. He said, we won't need your services anymore. I'm good. No one else did that, but he did, because I had like a five-time contract, right? But he said, nah, we gonna go in another direction, because they couldn't handle what I said. But I wanted them to know I'm not excluding the rest of the population, don't get me wrong, but I'm going hard for them black kids. Because I know they're not getting what they need. I know that. That's why this organization exists from the very beginning back in the 70s, right? So, last thing with the children, and then I'm gonna try to get some of this in, right? So, I know, right? And I got a 4:30 flight. Pray for me, right? So, here's the thing, y'all. I finished. They said whatever they said. So I'm getting ready to go. They go into class. The teacher's trying to escort them to class. They say, nah, we want to talk to Principal Kafele. Yeah, what's on your mind? They in the line. Can I have your autograph? I said, yeah. I write my autograph, little scrap papers, right? They just kept coming. Can I have your autograph? So now I got a whole afternoon of consulting. Teacher seeing me. I don't know what you said in that room, but all these kids are talking about is you. Oh, okay. Then I would see them sometime, just as I'm walking the building. Principal Kafele, right? Then the dismissal. I'm in the office wrapping things up with the principal. Here they come. Principal Kafele, can I have one more autograph? See, that's us, y'all. That's us. And if it's not us, then we got, where's my bag at? Up there? My mirror's up there. So, no, it's over here. So if it's not us, oh, it's up there. Oh well, here's the mirror, right? So then we gotta go here and ask ourselves, why is this student not excited about me? See, that's what I told the morning group that was in here this morning. I told you that's all I wanted to be. I just wanted to be a source of inspiration. If I could fire you up and make you a believer in yourself, then I knew that you can go on and maximize your potential. So that was my role. I've never claimed to be the superstar teacher. I know I got all these accolades, but I knew it was rooted in my ability to make young people feel good about themselves, right? So I asked the question here, what am I reading? Right? Let's look at a few things here. We got a little time. Those of you that know my work, I don't go anywhere without that man. Right? Nowhere. Right? I got 100 presentations in that computer, literally. And there's not one that doesn't have his picture. For someone in the room that doesn't know who that is, now you're going to know. Dr. Carter G. Woodson. And I have him there for a multiplicity of reasons, but in terms of today and the time we have, I have him here for this reason. That's an old copy of The Miseducation of the Negro. Fam, Midwest, I'm going to think that the proverbial 99% of you have read this book, right? But I will say this to you. A lot of you read it in undergrad school. You may need to revisit it because there's not an irrelevant page in that book, right? It's still applicable to today, although it was written in 1933. But I read it when I was coming out of my 10-year sleep. I slept for 10 years. I did nothing. I failed everything and did nothing, right? I did all the wrong things. I attended high school for 5 years, right? I failed everything. I do not think I had the credits to graduate. I think they just said, go, right? Because I would have been back for year 6, right? Not in the same school. I attended 4 different schools because Mom trying to move me all over New Jersey, trying to find a place that's going to be able to capture me, and she wasn't successful there. So I went on to undergrad school. I did graduate from there, by the way, summa cum laude. So, think about it. Failing everything, probably didn't have the credits, but graduate summa cum laude. What does that mean? That means that it was always there. I didn't get smart. It's already there. But there was no mechanism, no person that could bring it out, which defines what education is, to educe, to bring out. There was nobody that could bring it out. So I'm looking at other people and feeling inferior to most of them intellectually, right? So I'm reading this in my development because I didn't read my first book until I was 23. I had never read a book in my life. I knew how to read, but I had never read a book. I had no interest, right? I didn't see the point. I read the sports page in the newspaper, but that was about it. So now I'm reading this. And as many of you probably heard me say before, if not the last time I was here, there's a little passage in the introduction that I said, man, he's talking to me. He said, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or go yonder. He will find his quote-unquote proper place, and he will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he'll cut one. For his special benefit, his education makes it necessary. I couldn't read the rest of the book, y'all. I said, this man is talking to me. I'm no thinker. I'm not critical in any analysis of anything. So I read it again and again and again, and I kept reading that passage over and over. And then ultimately read the book. That book, that's the copy right there, is old. That book made me a classroom teacher. Had I not read that book, I'm not teaching. My man right here with, see one point? Behind you. I keep looking at you and thinking I'm looking at myself. I wasn't going to say nothing. I'm like, every time I look at you, I'm like, damn, that look like me. All right, let me get back, right? So, don't we got a resemblance? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, so you. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. So before I advance the slide, y'all. Oh man, I forgot what time I looked at. What time do I end? Okay. So, folks, if that book is not part of your repertoire, if it's not in your library, add it. Add it. You can go to Amazon. Like I won't be mad if you go there right now on your phone and buy the book. Won't look like that one. The sad thing about this book, no one owns it. It's in public domain. You can go and publish that book right now if you wanted to, with no consequences. So there's a zillion different covers of it, right? So, just one of them things when you think about our history, right? So, but get yourself a copy. So let's go. So what am I reading? What am I studying toward understanding the history of the black children that I teach? Here's my position, y'all. I'm in a room full of educators, predominantly black, but not 100% black. But I'm assuming that those who are not African American, as we use those interchangeably, black, African American, etc. I'm assuming you got black children. Well, if one is going to be successful in educating black children, one needs to know the history and culture of said children, right? Because if you and I go through an educational system and we are deprived of history, then we just perpetuate the same thing. See, I just got to make reference to this. I told you about my high school years. That means when I went to undergrad school, which wasn't until 5 years after I graduated, I did nothing for 5 years, smoked, drank, that type of thing, right? Clubs, right, that type of thing. But I had no dream, no ambition, no goals, no purpose, no mission, no vision. I just existed. That's who I was. So I go to school and I stumble on all that knowledge. And I said, man, I never heard this. So when I become a teacher because of this book, the preceding slide, I said, what do I know about teaching? In fact, what do I know about the content I'm going to teach? I don't know that. I had to teach myself. This thing gave me, let me go backwards. This thing gave me so much fire, among hundreds of other books, but I'm going to use this one for now, that I went and I educated myself. I'll never forget, I'm reading all these teachers' manuals and just going to the library and just reading, because I'm trying to learn all the things I didn't learn in school. And I don't mind sharing this with you. I saw something that says subject-verb agreement. This always stands out for me. Like when Malcolm talked about the aardvark in the dictionary, it always stood out for him. Well, this thing, when I saw a subject-verb agreement, here's what I said. What is that? I had no idea. That's how lost I was. I was a lost soul, y'all. So I started reading that. Reading and studying so that I could be proficient as a classroom teacher. But watch this. Here's what I did know. I knew 3 things. My degree was in marketing because my mother suggested marketing. That's the only reason why. I didn't know what it was, and neither did she, right? She just said, I said, what do I study, Ma? She said, marketing. What's that, Ma? Okay, I'll study marketing. That's what I studied. So I got a 3.98 in marketing, right? So I become a teacher in New York City. All I know in life, marketing, sports, and African American history. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. So what do? That mathematics I got to teach, let me infuse the history into that math and the marketing. That science I got to teach, let me infuse the African American history and the marketing into it. That language arts, that social studies, let me infuse that mathematics, that African American history and that marketing into it. Man, we outperforming everybody. Outperforming everybody. Hey, Kafele, what's that you doing? I don't have a language for it yet. I didn't know that there was a thing called culturally relevant pedagogy. I didn't know that yet. I don't know Dr. Gloria Latson-Billings yet. I don't know her work yet. So I'm doing something that's a real thing. I'm putting the children on the page like I did them 5th graders that I was talking to you about before. So I'm putting the children on the page. They see self. But I'm also putting contemporary culture that they would relate to on the pages as well. And it makes it very easy to teach. It's just like, let me be very transparent and vulnerable. I do this all the time. We've been in the room since 12:30. If I'm not speaking to your world in real time right now, you don't hear me. You saying, I wish this fool would hurry up so I can get up out of here, right? But if on the other hand, if I'm speaking to your world, oh, you hear me. You hear me. Well, children are asking the question every day, are you speaking to my world? Right? How do we take content and make it relatable and identifiable to the children that we serve? See, that matters. That matters. So the frustrating part to all of that is the times we're living right now. Because see, when I'm sitting back watching that or reading that, I'm saying, damn, you taking away all my weapons. Everything I did to be successful, my claim to fame, you trying to strip us of that. So I'm going around America teaching that that works. And you saying, I don't even want the book in the classroom. Right? So now, you and I, as frustrating as it can be, if you have a sense of history, it's not as frustrating as it seems, because our people have always risen. Always risen. Whatever the BS that was thrown at us, we always found a way, including the destruction of Black Wall Street, which people like to call a riot. Riots when you got two people going at each other, right? That ain't a riot, that's a massacre, right? So, but we've always figured it out. Well, we gonna stop now? Right? So no, we keep fighting. I'm gonna tell you this too. I don't share this everywhere I go, but I'm with NABSE right now, right? As a principal, in 2004, I was suspended for protecting my children. I was suspended. The superintendent wanted some unethical practices being done in my school, and I said, no, you can't do it here. How about that? But the only reason I could do that is because I stood on the shoulders of greatness. I knew who I was. So because I took that position, I was suspended. But back in them days, Principal Kafele had name recognition. So that was a big deal. So I was the lead story of all New York media during that period of principal under fire, suspended. But I had been grooming revolutionary children while I was there. Hear me, somebody. This ain't for everywhere I go. This is for NABSE. So the children, led by certain leaders that I had been grooming, not for that event because I didn't know it was coming, but I'm building leaders, intentionality. All right, so while I'm home, they led a walkout. And they marched all the way to the board. And they said, we want our principal back. So that was on a Monday, September 20th, 2004. On Tuesday, they march again. On Wednesday, September 22nd, the night of my hearing, superintendent shows up at the school with the East Orange police and says to them at the front door, you walk out of here today, you're all going to jail. They didn't know their rights. They believed it, they went back inside. So when the hearing came, the whole school showed up at my hearing. But it didn't stop there. Folks all over New York City, Philadelphia, Connecticut, and Jersey, they at the hearing. We couldn't fit all them people up there. Long story short, the board said, you didn't do anything wrong. Because I spoke on my own behalf. They said to me at the time I spoke, you're not speaking like somebody who's fighting for their job. That's what the board president said. I said, I'm not. I'm not fighting for my job. Got you. I said, I'm fighting for my children. So the board president said, come to work tomorrow. You did nothing wrong. But we went in a closed session before the board voted unanimously 7-0 for me to return to work. And the superintendent said to me, you owe me an apology. I said, Doc, I will apologize to you the day my name is Toby. But until they call me Toby, there'll be no apology. He said, well, I'm gonna let the board president know. I said, I'll escort you to him. And I was reinstated, and then I stayed for the rest of the year and then I went to another district, and I soared, right? I soared. So I'm saying that to say this. I got a few minutes. I don't think I'm gonna get to what I wanted to show you, but I think I brought some substance, right? Let me say this to the fam, y'all. If you sitting in here in leadership right now, because everybody's not in leadership, but those of you in administrative leadership, if you sitting in here in leadership and you haven't gotten in any trouble ever, I don't know if let me not be too harsh. You may need to hold up the mirror. Cause see, I don't go with the grain. I ain't go with no grain. People didn't understand why I won Teacher of the Year because I wasn't going with the grain and got in trouble as a teacher. I got in big trouble as a teacher. But the same year they said you Teacher of the Year, right? So, because I'm going to be me. So I'm closing by saying to somebody out here, I'm not asking you to get fired. Y'all got families at home. I ain't asking for that. That's not where I'm going, so because I don't want to be misconstrued. Here's all I'm saying. If you're going to study the history, you got to internalize it. It's got to be you. You can't be sitting up there quoting Malcolm, quoting King, loving Mandela, loving Huey, loving all of them, right? You can't be doing that, but you're not living that. That's a contradiction. So be strategic in how you move. That matters. Be strategic in how you move, but understand the ancestors are watching you, right? They're watching. So you got to make sure that you're an asset to these kids. We're in bad shape right now. We really are. You know that. But we can fix it. But it takes people like you and I. What I'm not going to do is do a presentation on these slides, but I want to show you these pictures, and then I'll be obedient. What am I reading? What am I studying toward understanding the history of black children that I teach? I want to show you these classics, a classic and one, and a classic and two, and you'll understand what I mean by that. I'm gonna just go quick. You got to read before the Mayflower. Like when I finish, someone will say, "Well, you didn't have this book, you didn't have that." These are like my basic classics. Right? So it's other stuff out there, but a lot of times people are like, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to read. I'm giving you my basic classics to say, here's your starting place, all right? So that way we don't have to debate in the hallway. So, Before the Mayflower by Lerone Bennett Jr., right? From Slavery to Freedom by John Hope Franklin. Introduction to African Civilizations by John G. Jackson. Those are my first three along with The Miseducation of the Negro. But that John G. Jackson book, so you can really know who African people were before enslavement, right? He breaks it down. It's so much there. But you got to read these books because you got to be able to infuse it in what you do in your conversation, your discourse with young people. Let's go. What am I reading, studying toward understanding the history of the black children that I teach? Check out the Diop. African Origin of Civilization is an important book. Black Man of the Nile by Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, known as Dr. Ben. One of his other books, one of his many books, Mother of Western Civilization by Dr. Ben. Dr. Clark, anything he's written, anything. John Hendrick Clark. Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization by Dr. Akua's good friend, Dr. Tony Browder, which is a book, by the way, I didn't have time to tell you this, but I infused that book we built a course around that book, right? I've convinced my superintendent, let me be extremely culturally relevant as a principal, and we built a whole program. We outscored every school in New Jersey of similar demographics because we put the children on the pages, right? Somebody wanted to did I mess somebody up? There we go. They came before Columbus. Ivan Van Sertima. Let me tell you, sometime when I post that cover, some people get mad at me on social media, but the fact of the matter, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima was thorough in his research, right? The black people left evidence of their existence in the Western Hemisphere 800 to 1300 years before the birth of Columbus, right? They didn't come here as slaves or enslaved. They came here on ships they built. They were navigators, right? But you and I got to go into that classroom with that mindset as we work with our young people, right? Let's go. Africa's Gift to America by J.A. Rogers. What a book. What a book. but I can say all of J.A. Rogers' books. he got a lot of them. Africa Must Unite, Kwame Nkrumah. So we talk about United States of America. Kwame Nkrumah is talking back in the 50s, United States of Africa. How does that country ever free itself when you got 55 plus states, or countries, I should say, in one continent? So he's saying, no, we need to be one. Stolen legacy. Oh my God. Nobody asked the question. I'm almost done. Give me a minute. No one asked the question. Where did Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, where did they learn? Who taught them? People that look just like you and I. When they navigated to ancient Kemet, that people know as Egypt, and learn from people that look just like you. And then they go back into Greece and teach what they taught, what they learned as original thought. We got to read, y'all. We got to read. Destruction of Black Civilization. What a book. Chancellor Williams. What a book. What a book. I ain't even got time to go into it. Let me keep going. Oh, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney. See, people talk about the underdevelopment of Africa, but you got to understand why it is. It's so many tactics that were used to keep it permanently what it is, up to this point anyway. And then we got new stuff going on, but I ain't going to get political in here, right? Blacks in Science. 2025, and you still got black folks talking about some Thomas Edison. Still doing it. Ain't no Thomas Edison bulbs in here. We've never experienced a Thomas Edison bulb before, unless you went to the Edison Museum. These are Lewis Latimer. But the thing I love most about Lewis Latimer, I'm acting like I ain't got a flight. The thing I love most about Lewis Latimer, that man had the foresight, young man, to document what he did. He wrote the first textbook ever written in America, ever written on incandescent lighting, electrical lighting. The world finds out about the book. So now you got different parts of the U.S., you got Europe. Everybody asking, Mr. Latimer, come to where we are to supervise the installation of electric lighting. It's Lewis Latimer. I'm almost done. Last page. This page is different. This is an old book, but I show this book not so much because I don't know how relevant the content is now because it's an old book. It could be. There you go. Thank you. But because I haven't read it in like decades. But that title, Developmental Psychology of the Black Child, what does that imply? That black children may be developing differently from other children developmentally, psychologically speaking, right? What do we know? Are we treating them? So we're in a diverse school, diverse classroom, and everybody treating them all the same. See? Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, volumes 1 through 4. The great Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. Oh, man. Oh, man. Black Children, Their Roots, Culture, and Learning Styles by Janice Hale. Look at the subtitle. Their Roots, Their Culture, Their Learning Styles. Awakening the Natural Genius of Black Children, also by Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson, the two that are aligned there. But look at the title, Awakening the Natural Genius of Black Children. Now watch this one here. Oh, put your seatbelt on, Chica. Education for Transformation by Dr. Chika Akua. See? Oh, yeah. I got you up there with them greats. Yeah. I know he probably promoted it yesterday. Get that book, right? Along with the others that he's written. Get those books, right? See, like a lot of these scholars, you look at a person like Dr. Asa Hilliard and others, but then you got next generation scholars. That's Dr. Akua. He walks in the footsteps. I tend to walk in the footsteps of great principals. He walking in the footsteps of great scholars, right? Dream Keepers. Dr. Gloria Latson Billings, if she was in the room, she'd probably tell me off for showing the old edition, but she's not here. Don't tell her. She revised it, right? She revised it. She's actually seen me do that. She's like, all right, I revised that book, right? I got to change that cover. But I'm ending there. Let me just give you my contact information. Hey, y'all, you want to get in touch with me, go to the website. As I tell every audience, I don't put my email address up because I want you to go to that website and navigate it and see all the good stuff that's on there that you don't have to pay a dime for. And then those of you who are interested in my books, the ones that ASCD publishes, those are the last 10. So check those out anywhere, ASCD, Amazon. And then I want to invite you all to join me on Saturday mornings at 10:55 to the AP and New Principles Academy. Let me close by saying this to you. Folks, I've been saying this for about maybe 30 years now, about that, maybe a little bit longer, 35 years, that when you walk into your schools, when you walk into your offices, when you walk into your district, when you walk into whatever your space is as an educator, I'm saying to you that in the space of time that children are with you, just that space of time, because it's not all day, but that space of time that they're with you, you become in that moment the number one determinant of their success or failure. Now, those of you holding up them phones, I'm not going to do that screaming and yelling if that's what you're waiting for. I almost had a stroke doing that. So I literally, my wife, time out real quick. My wife has been on my case for the past year to stop doing that, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. And my mother has been on my case. Now, when I do my AP Academy on Saturday mornings, I show a clip where I'm doing that. So my mother she times it. My mother's 90, so she times it where she won't watch until she knows that's over. She said, I can't watch that. But I kept doing it, but I started feeling like something going on up here. And I said, ooh. So I stopped doing it. But then I was in Cleveland about a few months ago. They had this big charter school conference. And it was like, it was all black folks, and they was like rocking with me, and you understand. I ain't got to explain that. So I said, man, them 900 people, they with me like, man, I got to do that close, man. You know you shouldn't do it, but do it anyway. So I'm like, I am. It's louder than that, right? So I did the whole thing. And then they was going crazy. So I said, I'm going to do it again, right? So I did it a second time, right? And after I hit that last one, of my students, right? They got up, they was cheering, and I took a seat, and I said, what the hell did you just do? And I felt like I was going to have a stroke, y'all, right? So I guess I'm saying two things as I close. You got to know your body. I know my body. But, it's like that rush from the audience, man. Like, yo, just go ahead and do it. I am. Right, so I ain't going to do it, right? I'm just going to say it to you. When you walk in there, y'all, know it, that you are the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. You got to know that. We black people, most of us, and those of you who ain't black, you honorary black when you in this room, right? So therefore, we just not in position to say the system, oh, my principal back here. We ain't in position to do that. We come from struggle, and I think we forget that in 2025. We come from struggle. So when I hear the young educators, I'm out of here, man. I ain't doing this, man. I'm like, damn, because you don't know the history. You can't relate to nor identify with people who had it harder than you. So now you just want to throw up your hand. I ain't doing this, man, working for these giant people. No. We need you here, right? So just remember that, y'all. I'm done. That you are the number one determinant of the success or failure of my children. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Oh, man, y'all standing up for, I ain't had to yell and scream? Oh, man, I appreciate you. I know, right? I appreciate y'all.
All right, wonderful team. We really appreciate
Yes, ma'am.
And I know you were in the back of the room. That was me.
Yeah. You don't have to use it.
Just do the work.
That's right. I appreciate you,
So we
too.
want to give you this. You're so welcome. We thank you for being here. And
Man.
on behalf of NABSE Midwest, we want to say thank you, and we want to give you this as just a token of our appreciation for being here.
I love
And with
it.
that, we're going to close this out. Let's give him one more round of applause.
Thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate you. Oh, yeah.
all right, you all have a great day.
One quick housekeeping announcement.